Let's talk about LaRussell real quick. So LaRussell was disqualified from Billboard for being indie, which is interesting because he just rolled out a whole campaign. We've talked about it a little bit. You know, he's kind of shaking the industry up in his own type of way. And I would say in a very good way for people that are actually creative arts people. And he showed a kind of a model of how to do this without major money backing, if you will. So let's watch this video real quick, or part of it, and then I'll ask a couple questions.
I sold 30,000 albums independently within my community. We was really excited because with 30,000 albums, you know, we were supposed to chart, and I would have been like top 5 albums in, and I was like, man, we did it. And I get a call from a company called Luminate. Luminate works with Billboard. They decide who charts and how it goes, you know, and we like, man, we sold 30,000 units. And they come back and they say, none of your units count. All that hard work you did, it's for you and your community to enjoy, but it don't count for what we do. And we like, well, why? And they said, well, you called some of your fans that bought albums, you did pop-up shows, you did live streams, and you set a goal and said you was gonna sell this much. That's incentivizing them to support you. And I said, so marketing and promoting. At first it was bothering me because it's like, man, you know, like we grind. What you talking about? Like we really did. I broke records. I sold out for 20,000, 18,000, 11. What y'all talking about? Publicly, we the first people who ever made album sales transparent. You seen every sale live. Nobody, no other artist, the industry don't do it. And they said, nah, that don't count here. They game, they rules. And that's cool. You know, it's like we're gonna take our ball and we're gonna do what we do over here, and I'm gonna make y'all look culturally incompetent. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's like, let come what may. You know, and the fact that it happened to me, of all people, is like, I'm the one who gonna go speak and go educate. All right, it's cool. Let me tell the people what's going on, though, and then y'all could talk to that. So it is what it is. We didn't chart, but we know what the fuck we did.
What does it matter if they not? What does it matter if they're not acknowledging you? If your people acknowledging you,
yeah,
you know what I mean. If you got people coming out to you and buying records, what does it matter if that you're not getting recognized from these people over there? They don't give a damn about you, no way.
Yeah,
just continue to market and promote like you said you are. The people that need to know. And hell, that's not nothing new, because I think they did that with Travis, and was it Travis when he was selling?
Talking about the bundles?
Yeah, when they started doing bundles and stuff, they started discrediting people's
But they counted
streams.
those.
They did count those?
They did count those. That's why Nicki Minaj is really mad when I think she dropped an album the same days as Travis, and it was like, oh, well, he did bundles and this, that, and the third. So it's always been this thing.
She's so bitter.
But yeah, there's. I don't know. I didn't know. Did you finish your?
No,
yeah. Okay. I didn't want to. I'm sorry.
Good.
I know a lot of people were somewhat shocked at the fact that LaRussell, or just taken aback, if you will, maybe not shocked. That's kind of strong language. When LaRussell signed the deal with Roc Nation and Jay-Z, but if Jay-Z, and I'm not sure what the timeline is on this, and Roc Nation were involved, those 30,000 would have been counted.
Mm-hmm.
The same way when basically they forced a Jay-Z album on everybody who had a Samsung phone.
Mm-hmm.
Those albums were counted towards Billboard.
Mm-hmm.
The same way
U2.
You know, it's U2 with their whole situation with Apple. And then even again with Jay-Z when it was 444 and his album was released exclusively on Tidal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but through, you know, you got. And that's how I wound up having Tidal, is because like you got a free subscription if you had a Sprint phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's all these, and Jay-Z would always hashtag new rules, you know, and so those new rules always counted his records. But, you know, here's somebody from outside of the system who, you know, like I said, a level of transparency. You saw all the records being sold. There was a system that he set up, but there wasn't a power broker involved, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
like Jay-Z, like the structure at Rock Nation. And so his 30,000 aren't counted, and people are like, well, you still sold them, and people know. But at the same time, there is a validation that comes from being mentioned in Billboard and having these conversations, and that's when you can kind of run your rate up. There are things that come with having a top 5 record that don't come with having a independent record that your people know that you sold it, but the industry, the machine, the monster doesn't know. So I think that's where the frustration comes from. And I think that's sometimes what frustrates the independent artist, because they're like saying, well, I got to have some sort of backing here. I got to go out and partner with somebody, or else I'm going to be, there's only so far I can go. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. And, not that that's the reason why he decided to sign with Rock Nation, because like I said, it's well documented that he turned them down initially. But, is this something, maybe this is another question that, okay, an independent artist who isn't happy with just getting the money and the recognition from his community, if he wants the recognition from the industry, is this an example of why they wind up partnering with these larger corporate entities?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's the wrong play for him. But obviously he knows himself and what he needs more than that. But man, you sold 30,000 records, man. We are in 2026. To your point, that's enough. He's documented enough that he doesn't need to have this conversation. He doesn't need to have this relationship with these major corporate entities if he doesn't want to. He doesn't need that to do any of the stuff that he needs and wants to do. I don't feel like he does. Now, maybe there are specific things that he wants to do to align himself with something bigger that maybe he feels like he needs to. But I felt like he was on such a path to really kind of repave the way completely that it is a little disheartening to see him kind of go down that path a little bit. It is a little bit disheartening to see him upset that he's not charting on Billboard. Like,
what is Billboard?
Yeah, what is Billboard? Like, who cares? So, I guess I understand it from one perspective because, you build it and you want the recognition, but, you did it your own way. And I think there's more merit in that, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think honestly that him not getting the recognition from Billboard or whatnot adds to his appeal. It is, I understand as far as he wants to have that attached to him, if that's the case, in order to be able to charge more to do things.
Or sell
more records. But I feel like even though he's not getting that recognition, this just adds to more of the appeal for people that want to actually rock with him. It's like he's for real just doing him. He's getting it out the mud, essentially. Of course, he is signed with Rock Nation now for distribution. But I think the only time that a Billboard is going to make sense, or it just depends on the artist. If the artist wants to go that route, or if they want to kind of, just make their money in the shadows. Because him selling 30,000 records on his own, he probably made more money doing that than if he sold 1 million copies under.
He definitely did.
Under an imprint.
That's what I mean. Like, what does a Billboard chart actually do for you?
As far as booking is concerned.
Really, but okay.
But some
how?
people,
he books his own stuff.
He does, but he gets to charge more.
Does he?
Yes. That's just
Why?
That's just part of it. Just
I
think
don't think so. I don't think so.
Like how we haven't even got there yet, but like how Sahai was talking about his cosign and getting things from Pusha T made him be able to charge more for things. Having certain things on your resume is going to book you or grant you more money. Of course, you can charge whatever you decide you want to charge. That don't mean that they're going to give it to you.
Let me say this, and I'm going to say this respectfully, because LaRussell is pretty popular act in the Bay.
Sure.
But the juice got to be worth the squeeze, man. It's a lot of hoopla and stuff behind this, but the product and the music ain't worth it to me. You know what I mean? Like,
to you.
Yeah, to me. That's it to me.
Okay.
LaRussell does those numbers in the Bay. You sold 30,000 units in your community. You do those shows in your community. Is LaRussell going to do a 5,000 seat venue in New York? Is he gonna be able to sell that out?
I don't know.
Or Indianapolis. You don't have to take the extreme.
Hell no.
Well,
So you
Indianapolis is more extreme than New York.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Why do you say it? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
Like, yeah, he's definitely not doing it here. But in New York, could LaRussell sell out SOBs? Is he that big of an act yet to where he could do that?
I think he can
I think
probably
he
do
probably can do
SOBs. Yeah, he can do that. But like, I just think it depends on what you want as an artist, man. At the end of the day, again, 30,000 records sold. Actually, as an artist personally, if I'm selling 30,000 records in my community,
I don't need nothing
I
else.
really don't care about nothing
Yep.
else. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Even
really
if I
cool.
just got $5 a record, like
Yeah.
I'm already set.
It's like, do you want?
Depending on your
are you
level.
chasing? Are you chasing the fame itself? Are you wanting to
Yeah.
be more recognized outside of just your area that you're from, or are you doing it for the love? I mean, it can be a mixture of both too.
Or are you doing it for the money? Like I'm not like LaRussell. If you're talking about selling,
If you're
30,
doing it for the money, then he should be content.
yeah,
But that's not what he's built his brand off of.
Right.
He hasn't built his brand off.
He built it off community.
He built it off community, and I'm doing this my way, and this is the way that I want to do it. I'm growing it organically. All of these things. So to me, it's a little weird to be so. And I don't feel like he is in the statement, but he just mentioned it. But I feel like if he was going to harp on it super heavily about the Billboard records, I do not believe that a Billboard chart. I would have to see statistics. I don't think where you place on a Billboard chart directly translates to how much somebody's going to book for you. It is directly what you want to charge and if they want to come and get you. And he's big enough to where they're going to come and get you, and then he's going to have a number, and he can make his number whatever he wants it to be. They can say yes or no based upon the dynamic of the place where it's at. But
ultimately, are you going to be able to sell out this venue?
that's it.
Yeah,
We know that.
That's it.
You know, and you know,
and that goes into how much I'm going to pay you because I'm not taking a loss.
yeah. I would say that it's harder. It would be harder for venues because they're not going to be able to check certain streaming metrics and things of that nature. You know, it maybe it would be harder for them to take a risk, but I don't feel like that's based off a Billboard chart. I feel like that was more off of like, you know, you get up your streaming metrics based. That's how people go on tours. They say, "Oh, like, cool, I'm streaming a lot here. Cool, I can probably do a show here." You know what I mean? And things of that nature. I mean, we've been a part of shows here that with national acts that are just as bigger than LaRussell, have done bigger things and haven't had a
Positive
major
return.
major positive turnout or anything of that nature. You know, it doesn't mean that they're, you know, I just don't see where a Billboard chart specifically and being, you know, like really leaning into this like it's that big of a deal is really going to affect him. Really,
This is a personal milestone for him. I
Sure.
mean, there's a lot of
if
people
that's the case, then that okay, I get it.
Yeah, just pay. I think part of his argument, whatever, is, hey man, pay me what you owe me. I did the work. I sold the units to chart. Take everything else out of it. Just pay me what you owe me. I deserve to be number 17 on so-and-so chart. I need to deserve number 4 on this chart because I have sold physical copies of the record.
Yeah, he did it the way that he was supposed to. He just didn't play their game.
Yeah.
That's it.
It ain't the first time. I mean, we always talk about E40. E40 started the same way. And these are all Bay artists.
Yeah.
Interesting enough. Too Short.
Yeah.
All of these people sold music out of their cars.
Mm-hmm.
And
JT the bigger figure.
when Platinum in the Hood, and Billboards didn't matter. I mean, eventually they got to that point where they were included in Billboards. But, I mean, at the end of the day, me personally, if I'm selling 30,000 records, I could care less about a Billboard.
To me, that's more the essence of what you're doing, anyways. But
Especially you selling one and he sold copies for like 20 grand. Somebody else paid 10 grand. I mean, he gets to keep all of that money.
yeah.
So
Does this push a counter narrative that he's been pushing to suggest independent artists should work within the system as opposed to do something counter?
I don't know. It kind of
feel like it.
It does kind of feel like it to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we talk about the whole Grammy thing, to where we understand where the Grammys should not be something that validates an artist's greatness or their artistic viability.
But it's nice.
But it, I said if any of my friends who I consider to be actual artists found themselves on that Grammy stage, I'd be the first one standing up and clapping. And I think there's part of that with, like I said, with LaRussell, just like, just pay me what you owe me. like I did what I was supposed to do. Payment, when you're talking about, oh, you incentivized people to buy your record.
Yeah, that's marketing.
What do you think it is when, you know, they used to do flyaways and artists and contests for you to come meet the artist, and it's all.
What do you think it is when you spend money on ads?
Yeah, everything is an incentive for, not really, maybe not incentive, but in, you know, they're pushing you towards a said purchase. Like, you know, when there's a special thing with I'm thinking about like movies, when they were selling the Batman cup at McDonald's, they're trying to get you to come to McDonald's and go see the new Batman movie.
First 1,000 people that buy the album get this type. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think they're more concerned with, he put a number. I need to sell 30,000 albums. They're thinking that's incentivizes people to actually buy the album, and I don't see anything wrong with that. But at the end of the day, as far as pushing the narrative that independent artists should have to work within the system, I think it depends on what you want out of your career. Do you want to be recognized on a national scale based on nominations and charts and things of that nature, or are you just doing it out of the pure love of, this is the music I want to do, this is how I'm making a living, and I'm just going to do it how I do it? I think that's what it depends on. It depends on the artists themselves. So
to his credit, I'm going to shoot him some bail and pose this question. So when 50 and Ye had their thing, 1-6 Park, and, you know, they was having their battle, like if what did 50 say? If you sell more records than me on the first week, I stop rapping.
Right.
And that's incentivizing both of their audiences to go buy their records.
Yep.
And both of their records counted.
But the thing about that is those record companies won at the same time, and those record companies are kicking incentives to Billboard.
Okay.
Whereas he got all of the money, so nobody's getting the incentive but LaRussell. That's the reason why that made sense for them, because it's like, hey, we all win in this. The artist wins, the corporation wins,
Rolling Stone wins,
everybody wins. In this. That is part of a corporation. Whereas him being by himself, he's the only one winning monetarily, but they don't want to award him that because they didn't get anything from it.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's it right there. Like you're doing too much without us, son.
That's pretty much what it is. Like, all this being said, like, you know, LaRussell can do what he wants to do. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he is still a good model for how to build your career up to a point. Do it by yourself, things of that nature. I think I'm just, me personally, I'm more from the school of thought that, like, if you can do it without involving big money and having big hands in your pocket, don't do it. You know, like, but again, I'm also pretty much anti these corporations and things of that nature. So, like, I don't want them to get any of that money.
Right.
Like, I want every artist to follow what I teach. That's what I teach. Do streaming afterwards if you want, you know, like, if after the fact, but, like, push it, do it independent, you know, like, we got to break it up. You know what I mean? That's the way that I look at this. So I do look at, I am a little bit, when he signed the Rock Nation thing, I was like, all right, I get it. And when I saw him, the first part of this clip, I was kind of like, why do you care? You know, but, you know, we all have different goals and things. And so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.